Notice authors, activists, change makers, creators, corporate honchos, entrepreneurs, Harvard graduates, homemakers, thought leaders, technologists turned spiritualists, and galore. You will find them all. Unbound with me, your host, Mamtaa Dhingra. What makes them jump and jive? Who inspires them? What's their chutzpah and where do they get it from? Their darkest fears, deepest vulnerabilities, biggest unlearnings at all. This freestyle Tetyatet is an unleashing of many things that are hidden and beyond the bounds of ordinary. Unbound is a space curated for real stories of people from different walks of life who have sailed through uncharted waters and live to tell their inspiring stories. So come take this deep dive with me into their journeys as we unravel, unearth, uncover various facets of their life as they remain unstoppable and continue to do unthinkable.
Let me call you sweetheart, I'm in love with you. Let me hear you whisper
that you love me too.
Keep the love light burning in our hearts so true. Let me call you sweetheart, I'm in love with you.
Wasn't it magical? Yes, our today's episode is just not an interaction, but a melodious recital, a celebration of accomplishments of not one, but two musical stalwarts of our country who are continuing to curate and contribute to the rich musical heritage of our nation. Their visionary work towards performing arts, visual arts, literary arts is unparalleled and for which they have been awarded many prestigious honors. Together, they are a force to be reckoned with and they stop at nothing. It's truly and totally an honor for me to welcome the dynamic duo Aubrey Aloysius and Aubrey Aloysius. Such is the stature of their accomplishments that some of the awards and achievements they have received I may even fumble to pronounce, but I will give it a try nevertheless. She is a licentiate of the Trinity College of London. He is an ex-international banker, marketing professional, entrepreneur, educationist, filmmaker, and culture enthusiast. She is Masters in Banking and Finance, and together they have received many honors and accolades too. Both Lorraine and Aubrey are the recipient of the coveted Karamveer Puraskar and SNP Nation Achiever Award on account of serving society through the nation-building project Come India, Sing Jana Gana. Lorraine is the creative director of Lorraine Music Academy and she is also the founder trustee of LAMP Trust. Aubrey is the founder, chairman, managing director and CEO of Lorraine Music Academy and he is also the founder, trustee and president of LAMP Trust. Hi Lorraine and Aubrey, welcome to my podcast Unbound.
Hi Mamtaa.
Hi Mamtaa, thank you for having us.
It was such a tall order of introduction. You know, I don't know where to stop, guys. I mean, you are overachievers. Is that what I would call you?
No, you're very kind. No. We still have a long way to go, Mamtaa.
Yes, we just touched the tip of the iceberg. Not yet, actually.
You know, that's
long way to go.
That's yes. really being truly humble. But tell me, guys, both Lorraine and Aubrey, tell me how did it really start for you all? You can go one at a time, or you know, you can take your turns. But tell me, how did you always knew what you wanted to do in life? How did you really explore what was for you? What were you meant or cut out for?
I think I wish I had known I would be doing this. As a child, I wanted to be an Air Force pilot, believe it or not. And my teachers, when they heard my voice as I grew up in school, they said, "You'll be a singer. You'll be a great speaker. You'll be this, you'll be that." And I didn't want to be any of that. But lo and behold, I love music. And then I met Lorraine, musician besides many other things, you know. So I think this journey, if you're asking about specifically about this journey of our, the path where we took our music education forward, it started after our marriage during a walk in the park where we were discussing our nation, the population, and how do we get and integrate music as an essential part of education in our nation, and how do we get that music education across to such a large population. So we were trying to solve a global problem during our walk in the park, and that's how it started. Frankly, this is about 16 years ago.
Well, I always knew that I was cut out for something musical in my life. Ever since I was 7, I had visions of myself conducting large groups of people and making music happen in the world. Never really thought I would do it because I went into other things like business, not at all connected with music. I taught all kinds of subjects, but it just so happened what God has for you happens, and that's what happened to me. And I'm so glad about Lorraine Music Academy.
Absolutely. And how about inspirations in childhood? So I know that your mom was also a musician. She was an artist, Helen de Cruz. So tell us something about her, how she inspired you, encouraged you in her pursuit of music. Has it really, have had an influence on you?
Yes, it's had a great influence on me. My mom has been a role model actually. My mother, she comes from a musical family, even though we're from Mangalore and Mangaloreans are not generally considered to be musical people. But my mother's father was actually a doctor, a well-known doctor in Africa. Despite that, he learnt the violin and he played the violin as a hobby. And he taught all his children music. But by the time my mom was 5 years old, her father died, and they didn't have enough of resources to learn Western music. It was very expensive. So my mom just did it on her own, and she had such a passion for music, for getting it right, for listening to music from all around the world and singing, and she transferred that to us. We couldn't but help get it from her. We just caught it. She would be so perfect about music. She would want to get it right, and she would listen to music and sing and make us practice. She taught me so much, and just by looking at her, by listening to her, I think the passion just rubbed off. And
the way you have sketched her, literally, she's come alive in front of my eyes. What about you, Aubrey? What's the beginning for you? Of course, your teachers could spot that talent, but what about your background, your family, your parents, your folks?
So I was born in we are a very small family. My father, my mother, my younger sister, and myself. But I'll touch upon that smallness of the family in another context a little later. It was my mother who was a school teacher and a principal, and at home, she was my mentor, my mother, my mentor, and many things all rolled in one. The things she taught at home, I couldn't have learned in school. She prepared me for life. She prepared me. She was a very God-fearing lady, and she first of all grounded me well in that area of fearing God first, putting principles and ethics and values very clearly in my heart at a very early age. And I think I thank God for that. And that's been my guiding light in anything. I may not have known what I'm going to do in life, but the one thing that stuck with me is that character is number one in life. Character above charisma, above any other thing in life, including accomplishments. And the other is to keep your word. One of the few things, out of the many things that I think I'm indebted to God for my mother.
Wow, how beautiful. I think mothers just take the lead. It just comes so naturally being a woman to them, isn't it? So what makes the two of you UnBound? I mean, some incidences in life, of course, that walk in the park transformed your life forever, but are there any very etched out instances or eureka moments that have been point of no return after that, so that's completely sort of unleashed you?
So I'll tell you what comes to my mind. Does anything come to your mind? Yeah, it does. So don't forget that. Okay, let me just tell you two things that come to my mind. I was in the bank and I was just, I'm a dreamer, by the way. My teachers used to complain about me to my mom saying, Aubrey's a dreamer. He's all the time looking out of the window. And my mother was a teacher, said, did you try getting his attention back and ask him a question? He says, every time we ask him a question, he answers accurately. But he dreams. The thing is that I was always a dreamer. And I remember this one time I was in the bank. I was in Canada Bank International Division. And I was just toying with the visiting card. And, invariantly during that dreaming moment, I had written Aubrey Aloysius. And I couldn't think of working anywhere else but where I am, right? I'm a very loyal guy. So I actually wrote there, Chairman and Managing Director. And I said, what have I done? I'm dreaming of being a chairman and managing director of my own bank. But that's where the whole thought of leading an institution began at a very young age. Jump across to the day when I actually became an entrepreneur. I chucked everything out in my late 20s and I became a managing director and chairman and managing director of my own startup as a bachelor. And then Lorraine walked into my life and then walked into the business and we became co-founders. But I think that was a point of no return. If that's a question framed, I think it boils down to those two moments when one day I dared to dream of becoming a chairman and managing director of, I thought it was my bank, but then it turned out to be a organization. The second is that point of no return. Once you become an entrepreneur, it's like a bug. You can't, even if you want to quit, you don't feel like quitting. If you've been trained right, So I hope that answers the question.
No, in fact, I feel the more dejection and failure you face, like I'm speaking to so many entrepreneurs on the show and, have worked with so many of them closely, it's that unquenchable thirst that they have to it becomes even more stronger if you're not been able to put out a product or an idea which is really hit with the audience or the consumer. It gets even bigger the next time, the urge to go and prove yourself that no, we got to get it right. They may not have done the same thing in their jobs or in their studentship or other areas of life, but the minute it comes to business and letting yourself out there where people are judging, there are risks, there are pressures, I think all of a sudden this phenomenal power sort of bestows on you and you're like, no, I have to prove this, I've got to get this right.
I think for me, music is not generally something that everyone's encouraged to take up as a profession, and it's maths and science and being everything else that gives you more money. But in my case, I was trained to be a performer, but I really believe that having learned music, it's benefited me as an individual tremendously, and so I decided that teaching would be the best thing to do, to spread music by teaching the world. And every day when I look at my own life and how my life is so balanced because of music, I just want to do more and more of imparting music education, getting better ideas to impart music education to everyone, the rich and the poor. And so that is where it's that unstoppable moment when I realized how much music has helped me as an individual. And I thank my parents every day for teaching me music.
Awesome. So tell us a little more. Yes, of course, you are, indicating and dropping a hint to us, and we would like to explore this more, that how does music really help in shaping an individual, a personality, with other techniques and skills? How can one really become a better version of himself or herself with the learning that is music?
Oh, that's a great question, which I can take the whole day to answer, but I'm going to answer it very quickly. First of all, music makes you happy. If you listen to the right kind of music, and I talk here about classical music, I know that all kinds of music can make you happy, but particularly classical music has some, you feel like you are in a new world, in a better world, in a higher world. Music is magical. It's actually the only art in heaven that's practiced on earth, and the only art on earth practiced in heaven. Okay? It has that magical quality about it. Just listening to music takes you to another world. You experience a new world when you listen to the right kind of music, and we can talk about the right kind of music later. But most music is good. And what's the definition of the right kind of music? We'll do another workshop on that. But I think everyone has their right kind of music. So just participating in music by performing it does a lot to the brain. And the brain, you have a lot of neuroscience scientists that have proven through fMRI imaging and all that kind of thing that it is a full brain workout, and it activates all parts of your brain, and all kinds of the best hormones are released during music making, whether it's endorphins or oxytocins or dopamine and all kinds of things. It can be addictive, and it can help you to feel good and to be a better person. So listening to the right kind of music and playing the right kind of music definitely helps you to be emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually very, very strong and positive.
And centuries, in fact, millennia ago, the Greek philosophers, Aristotle and Plato, both agreed when they said this, that just as physical exercise or sports is important for the development of the body, music is important for the development of the mind. Now, this is more than 2,000 years ago, which now scientists are proving. And very clearly, music, learning music more than listening to music is like a full body workout. What a full body workout is for the body, human body, learning music is for the mind.
And at any age, it benefits people. If you learn before the age of 7, neuroplasticity is the highest before the age of 7 and around that age. And for anyone who undertakes music at any age, it's going to be very, very positive by making your brain and your endorphins and everything work much better to make you much happier.
Wow, now that is really some gyan which I had no idea about. I'm so glad that you shared this piece here, because people don't understand the importance of these creative pursuits. They just take it as a discipline of art, or maybe sometimes their effort to express themselves, but really to be knowing that how holistically it can contribute to your evolution, if I may call it, then there can't be anything more phenomenal than that. And that kind of reinforces the fact that why in olden times or certain traditions, why music as a discipline was such a ingrained thing, that in certain gharanas or communities, or maybe even for religious practices and spirituality, why music was at the core of all of these things.
Could I say something?
Yeah, please add on, please.
Up to the Middle Ages, music was regarded as a subject which is as important as mathematics, astronomy, physics. It's only later that it became more of an entertainment and not so much of a study. It's a hugely intellectual subject, and it has huge mathematical and science ingrained in it. So it is a whole subject, completely whole subject. It has everything in it.
That's right. And add to that, if you look at it historically, from a historical geopolitical perspective, look at any number one economy in any era going back to 3,000 years, any of them. If you look at the Greek civilization when they were dominant, well, you will see that music had an integral part in education.
Yes, Pythagoras.
Pythagoras came in that era. Okay, as a mathematician and a musician. If you look at the Chinese and the Indian, the civilization, we both are neighbors almost. But when you look back at our history, the Indian history is immensely rich with music, and the patrons of music then were the kings. Go back to any civilization, including the current number one economy. The rise of civilization or economies are linked to the emphasis on music in their basic education. And this is one point we need to bring back to this great civilization of India in the current generation. Mm-hmm. And the importance of music in education is sorely missed over the last 75 years. So I think that is something we need to get back into. That will get India back on being at the top.
Yeah, well said. And with creators, thinkers, and leaders like you, I'm sure we are moving one step in that direction for sure. But tell me, and I'm going to now just deep dive into certain very, very personal questions, things that drive you, things that make you happy, make you crazy. So you guys have had a fair share of your journey, and there've been ups and downs, and goods and bads, highs and lows, peaks and mountains. But what's peaks and valleys? But what's really been some of the biggest challenges that you guys have faced and then conquered on your way to live an unbound life?
Yeah, so Mamta, we come in a land that is great. I consider, coming back to the origin of what I said about the family. We come from a small family, but I don't feel I'm a part of the small family that I thought I was a part of when as a child. Today, I have a very large family, and numerically speaking, that family size is not just four, but it's 1.4 billion. So I really feel that deep in my spirit, deep in my bones, that and that's the sort of, if you were to ask me who do I root for, what's my is there anything I favor? I think I would root for India, and do anything for India as an Indian citizen, as a global citizen. I think India needs to find its space, its place back in history. Now, having said that, to answer your question about the challenges, I think one of the major challenges we felt as we stepped out into this world of enterprise is that we always need, well, people have godfathers, but I think we need role models and mentors. And I'm being very honest here, Mamta, and very candid. We come from a Christian background. And if you look at the community of Christians, we don't have too many role models in the area of business. And that has been one of my biggest challenges as I was growing up as an entrepreneur. I wish I had, I had a mentor, a group of mentors I could sort of go to every day and share the problems and ask for advice. That's one thing. That has been a big challenge, and that's a big wish list I've always carried on my shoulder, on my pocket. And but I think the dream and the desire to have mentors has come up later in life, and I guess God gives it to you at the right time. And they've come from other communities. I have a great mentor in Mr. Raj Jaswa, who's originally, he's a Gujarati background, born in Mumbai, IIT graduate, went to the US. He's been an entrepreneur not once, but he's done not one but two IPOs in NASDAQ. Now, he's currently my major mentor. But I think there were challenges in that area, if you was to say, we don't come from a business family, and yet my journey in entrepreneurship has not been easy from that perspective.
But what about you, Lorraine? Any personal challenges or fears that you had to really face and conquer before you had to even move forward? So things that you had to really, sort of take head on.
Yes, I think just being in business, as Aubrey mentioned, our Christian background, being in business, and especially in India, the only thing is, are we doing the right thing? Sometimes you have to compromise a bit, and then you don't know, where to, how to do things. But we always have stuck to doing what we believe is absolutely correct in our conscience. And that means losing many opportunities, but that's fine. We just carry on doing what we think is absolutely right. So those are the challenges. We could have kind of maybe been more successful, had a lot more money, if we had done it any other way.
But no regrets, Mamta. I think doing the right thing is the correct thing in life. Mm-hmm. Money will come after.
Yeah. Okay, so my next question becomes very counterproductive in that case. So, okay, a quick shoot to both of you. What are you biased towards?
I'm biased towards teaching the whole world music. That's nothing bigger on my list.
So here is a combination. I want us to be teaching the whole world of music in a Make in India company.
Okay, yes.
Right.
And not just people and students who approach us who are from the more affluent backgrounds, but I even look at the domestic help that I see in my house. We had a painter who came in to paint the house, and he just wanted to play the harmonium.
Yeah.
So we're just giving him this harmonium to play. When we're organizing for his music lessons, so he can play the harmonium. He got such peace when he played the harmonium that was here. He would take a break from his painting and play the harmonium beautifully without even learning it. And that is the thing.
And we told his contractor to give him an extra hour at lunch so he can really get into his passion.
Yes.
How beautiful is that? So, how do you deal with others' judgments? What about notions, perceptions? This whole talk back, society, log kya kahenge? They are thinking like that towards us. We don't know what to answer. Does it really bother, or have you already crossed that stage?
I think we've crossed that stage a long time back. We used to face this as young entrepreneurs, yes. When we got married, I mean, a lot of what our family, friends, said about us, the community said about us, bothered us a lot. Because while we were looking to the elders for support, we found none. And we said, what a situation we found ourselves in. But as time went by, I think we've developed thick skins, if you can call it that, and we don't care. I don't know whether I'm being callous in the words I'm using. But no, I think we're very clear where we're going. We have our convictions right. Mm-hmm. Our heart is in the right place. We've set our eyes on a goal which is achievable, and we are really looking forward to achieving them and doing something to contribute to our nation, to society at large, and find happiness through that pursuit.
More power to you guys on that one. That's truly incredible, to be able to come to that point in life where nothing matters but your goal. That's incredible. What were some of the patterns which were impossible to break for both of you? Like, we get into a sort of a caste, we limit ourselves, we just keep falling in that trap again and again. That could be sometimes procrastination, it could be sometimes laziness, pure laziness, inaction, or maybe any other pattern that you've identified that, I do fall in this, and you continue to do that until you really realize the cost, and then you sort of break out or break away from it. So have you ever been able to see that, identify, do something about that?
So as a young man, I had a lot of drive and ambition, and I wanted to conquer the world, and I had a big long checklist of things to do, and I would just write it down diligently. But then there was only 24 hours in a day. And you can only do this much because you've got to sleep at least 8 hours, So what I realized very early is that I need to find a tool to manage those desires or ambitions or checklists or to-do lists. And then I realized that time management and task management are two things I need to master. And I took a course on that one from one of my mentors. And I think that helped me a lot. It was very, very early in my life, even before I started entrepreneurship, very, very early, in my early 20s. And that made a big difference. To spot the urgent and distractions from the important, and to look at the urgent and important, giving emphasis to the important items. That makes a big difference. Then saying no, because I think we as Indians culturally find it very difficult to say no. We always want to say, Haji, yes, it'll be done. But I think it's important in that process to say no and say that you can't achieve everything. There's only this much time that you have.
Very well said. In fact, I'm a firm believer that urgencies are always created. You don't take the action right on time, and then it's procrastination, delay, not attending to it. And one fine day, it'll just fall on your head like a huge urgency that now the tap is not leaking. It is kind of, flowing all over. So that's very well said. But yes, the ability to be able to spot it that early in life, that this is where I am, not able to break out, and this is where I am continuing to fail despite my ambitions and desire. I think that's a huge insight to have at that age. So Lorraine, what's your answer?
At UnBound, we believe in the power of unhinged minds and untamed ideas of everyday people. As we sit to talk with some of them, we are listening to your voice too. So share your thoughts, ideas, and takeaways from this podcast as a review on Apple Podcasts, or just drop us a message on Instagram at d.mamta. And remember to follow and subscribe to this podcast to stay connected with us. And now, back to our UnBound conversation.
So Lorraine, what's your answer?
Me, I come from a very, shall I say, family that's full of education, scientists, and my grandfather was great at mathematics. So it's a lot of academics in my family. For me, getting into business, academics and business are like two contrasting, in the sides of the spectrum. And I would always want to do everything theoretically right. Like, I read a lot before I take any decision or do anything. So the practical world of business and the academic world are very different. And for me, it was like, just forget too much of reading when you want to do anything. And Aubrey's helped me there. Just feel it and just experience it and just do it. You don't have to have knowledge about everything, so much of knowledge before you take a decision or before you can get into something that you don't really know too much about. So that is, I don't know if that answers your question.
Absolutely, absolutely. It again takes me back to that, if I may say, like it's an analogy, or something that I really draw out of that. When you are driving through a thick forest or a mountain in pitch dark, and there are just two headlights to your car, so you can only see so much. You can just see 100 meters, go 100 meters, then figure the next 100 meters, and that's how the whole journey unfolds for you. So you may not know where the next bend is, where the next curve is, and you got to just be in action, be in movement to then just take everything that comes your way, and rather than overthinking or over analyzing. Oh, that's really beautiful. So what are some of the biggest unlearnings that have been through your journey? So your sort of answers the question, from academic to being more practical. I think that's how. Yeah. But are there any more identified things that you had to really unlearn to continue on this journey?
We're brought up as part of a society that always believes that you should be good in front of others, you should be your best, and blah blah blah, and you should keep your house really well, and you should dress up nicely and all that sort of thing, and you should be, have your hair done well and look well. But for me, I feel that my family is very good and my parents are really genuine and everything else. But there was also this other side to it, that you should have everything else, on the exterior. For me, I feel that the biggest learning for me is that what you are on the inside is really, really important. And I've realized through this whole journey that whatever I feel, my thoughts on the inside, that is what, impacts everything I do and everyone I meet. I don't know if I'm answering right, but
I get that.
Is that, if you have the right thoughts and you have the right heart, nothing else matters really. People can see through you. You don't need to dress up in any particular way and do any particular thing and behave in a particular manner. You just be yourself. And that's what my learning has been. And it's been a journey of doing that, just being myself without anyone telling me you have to speak like this and you have to dress like this and you have to wear these kind of clothes and these kind of earrings.
Got that. Interesting. No, that's, coming from a woman specifically, because there are, I don't know, these are very invisible, unsaid, or just sort of expected, a conditioned behavior, expected behaviors and patterns that, अरे ये तो घर की लक्ष्मी है, इसको तो ऐसा ही रहना चाहिए, she should be welcoming, she should be warm, she should offer water, she should make tea. There are a lot of these little things which are very, it's like a gender bias, of course, but being in a patriarchal system anyway, we are subject, I think, as women, that gender is kind of subjected to this thing far too much. And to add to that, anything that comes in way of your own self-beliefs then is just too tearing and too tormenting. And you got to really live light. You can't be so suppressed with so much on your chest all the time.
And also, you have to say what you feel. Sometimes a society imposes on you certain things. No, now you shouldn't speak. Now you should be quiet. Now you should do this. Now you should. I just say what I feel, and that's the liberation that I feel. That's how I can deal with everything that I encounter in life. Because I'm not just being brash about it, but just expressing your feelings. There's nothing wrong with that.
What about you, Aubrey? But what's been your unlearning through this journey?
My learning, well, I'll tell you, I was brought up to be very proper. Okay. And I remember, and I still remember my brother in law, that is, from Lorraine's side, writing me a little note on my birthday, my first birthday in the family. He says, "Don't be so formal, dear Aubrey. People might take it for snobbery. So go out, have a smoke,
Get
get drunk,
crack a joke,
crack a joke,
commit
a broad daylight robbery, but don't be so formal, dear Aubrey." And I can recite it. It hit home. The message hit home, And so that's been a big unlearning for me in life, where I was brought up. Remember, my mother was a principal and a teacher, and I was brought up to be proper. And well, I had to then, you see, and then I'll tell you how proper. So proper that I didn't know what I had to wear at the beach. I came to the beach, and Lorraine reminds me, with my shoes and socks once. So, and today I'm a totally different person. I'll go anywhere. If given a chance, I'll walk into an official meeting in my shorts and t-shirt without being disrespectful. If I do need to, I would wear my suit. But I'm saying I've come a long way from those early days when I had to be. The right word is, I was more self-conscious about how people will look at me. Am I doing the right thing?
Yeah. So the unlearning has been not to be self-conscious, but just to be what you feel.
Beautiful. That's really beautiful, and you have such strong anchorings, both of you, that it's not, although I thought maybe one is sort of going after the other and saying, okay, no, you are my go-to, but this kind of defines you both as such strong individuals, and such strongly anchored individuals, I would say. So that's beautiful. So quick question on movies, travels, interactions, shows that have influenced you or your decision making or choices in life.
Yes, Aubrey is a movie buff. I think he's not watched not missed a single movie. He's watched every single movie that I can think of. And I have not watched any movie. I just love to listen to my music. I don't need to travel anywhere, Mamta. The music takes me and transports me to different worlds. I don't really need to travel. That's why he tells me, come on holidays. I no need to travel. I get transported to different worlds, all parts of the country and the universe and space and everything else, beyond heaven and everything.
Wow.
Else.
I love to travel, and that's why I tell her I wish I could take you in my pocket. But the airline does want me to book another ticket for her.
So what has influenced you? Are there any movies, shows, interactions? One single interaction, and you're like, oh my God, my worldview has changed, or this is not the way I was just before I walked into this room. So has that happened?
A couple of them, maybe three, but I'll quickly touch upon them. I think one was the movie Gandhi by Richard Attenborough. While I had read about Mahatma Gandhi, I think that movie really touched me. It was so well done and so well acted and so well portrayed the whole life of Mahatma Gandhi. And number two is, the book Cain and Abel by that book really. Oh, there's another book as well. So years back, when I was in the bank, there was another book called Third Wave and Future Shock, and I forget right now the name of the author. But that really that changed my life in terms of always thinking of the future. This man saw 50 years before there could be Zoom and there could be work from home. 50 years back, when we went through COVID, I remember that book. It made a big impression on me. And I've always been looking at the future and wondering how the future would be through curiosity that was generated or inspired through the reading of those two books. And I began to wonder, how did this man see the future? We talked at that time about not having to travel in order to work. Well, what we call work from home today, all right? those things. And the most important thing is when I met, I think the current episode of meeting the Lal Bahadur, the family of Lal Bahadur, or second Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri, I impacted me so much. I spent a few years, in fact, with meeting every member of the family, drawing out incidents of his life from their memories. And I've got a book in the making and a film in the making. But that story of that man has made a deep impact on my life.
Yes.
And it's a story to be told, Mamta, which I will one day.
Phenomenal. And what about you, Lauren? People, interactions, movies, shows, books, anything that has sort of influenced you?
This movie, My Fair Lady, even though I don't really watch too many movies, the movie My Fair Lady, where this flower girl gets transformed, into a lady, and she just learns and she gets transformed. That inspires me to not think that anyone's not capable of being transformed. So if I see a poor child, a special child, or a difficult child, I feel there's hope for everyone. And that movie really gives me a lot of inspiration when I think of how Eliza, just was transformed into being a lady. So I think that movie really speaks to me even every day. And especially when I see people who are difficult, I say, no, there's a way to bring it out in them. And all these movies like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and Mary Poppins, and the movies that I saw as a child, The Sound of Music, is so bright and happy. And that makes me feel like we can give the world a lot more.
I will share one more, Mamta, if I may.
Sure. Please go ahead.
Remember the dream I told you when I was a young man before I turned an entrepreneur, of the little visiting card I drew? I'd always wanted to achieve something, and I've always dreamt of, and I said, can an Indian company go and list in the New York Stock Exchange or NASDAQ? And my little research showed me 2 years ago that not more than, I think, a handful of companies have done that so far from India. A dream that I've been keeping a long time suddenly began to look closer to reality when during the COVID times I met my current mentor, Mr. Raj Jaswa, who'd done exactly what I was dreaming of, not once but twice. And that's a current journey that we're going through at Lorraine Music Academy. How do we go global? And how do we reach out? Remember, we were in one corner of this country in Gurgaon, okay? And COVID actually has been a blessing in disguise. Meeting this man has been a great blessing during COVID days. And I think that's transformed my life. Would you agree? That's transformed my life in the last 2 years in ways I can't express, Mamta. I think it's like acceleration of my dreams has suddenly hit me. Vision comes back from dreaming. And a vision is, you never know the complete end. A vision is a progressive vision. Every morning you get a fresh vision of the future. It's almost like you see 1 day ahead, next day you see 3 days ahead. The next day you probably see 3 weeks ahead. And what I would say is to anyone listening, and if you feel you have a dream, or rather you have a vision, you want to accomplish something, I would say dream, and I would qualify that dream. I would say dream big, number one. Number two, be willing to give all of yourselves and plunge yourself totally into that dream, fulfilling that dream. That means it needs to be backed by a plan of action, followed by a clearly determined set of actions.
I'll answer the question a little differently, Mamta. You said, what fuels me? See, we're doing something in the music space, teaching music, which is very complicated, that too online. What gives me the fuel to achieve this and to persevere in this field is when I hear and I know about many composers, classical composers like the great Beethoven, Bach, and Mozart. Despite no internet, despite nothing being developed at that time, no technology, so to speak, they achieved something which till today we can't do without and we are enjoying. Okay, so what Beethoven couldn't even hear. He was deaf for the later part of his life, but he still composed music. And saying today, in this day of technology, We have so much that we can do to change the world in music, and their stories inspire me. They worked tirelessly, and they worked with whatever they had. The human brain, the human mind is capable of incredible things, and so really want to do something incredible. Their stories fuel me and make me feel that nothing is impossible, and we can do greater things to impact the world through music, than what we are doing currently. And we just need to awaken everybody and do that.
That energy is infectious.
I'd like to add something.
Yes.
Because I understand the question where you're coming from. So I'll open up a little bit about myself and my journey. So it's a little helpful to those who are listening who I understand the question. So see, it's not every day that we are full of energy, okay? Let's be clear, we are human beings.
I think I am full of energy every day.
No. You see, the energy comes from me, I think, So she doesn't realize it. But
you can't contest.
But no, jokes apart. No, really, I'll be very brutally honest about myself. I'm not Superman. There are times I go through doubts. Have I taken the right decision? Have I pushed us too far? Things have not always worked out the way I had thought they would work out. I'm an ordinary man. Yes, out to achieve extraordinary things, but I do realize I'm a human being and I go through these thoughts. Now, I'll tell you what I used to do, okay? And I still do it. I've got 2 books in front of me. One is how they started digital. And I have got a story of companies like Google, Dropbox. These stories really inspire me, Twitter, LinkedIn. Twitter just got bought for $44 billion. Then they started somewhere from zero. So did Google. They had 17 competitors in the search engine space. You don't hear of them today. Google is number 1. So, I've had this habit of reading biographies of famous people from childhood. And one of my habits were to go back to inspiring stories or going to meet people who have achieved extraordinary things and dig out nuggets from either the book or the biographical film I watch or from the conversations I have with these great achievers. And I've done this from a very young age, very, very young age. I've always looked up. In my search for mentors, I've always tried to look up and meet people whom I thought I could learn from. And I've drawn my inspiration from them, from the stories, from the challenges I've read about or heard about. And then I apply it. Sometimes I read a book and I'm in the 3rd chapter on page 3, and a eureka moment of an idea hits me after seeing how, or hearing or reading about how a particular situation was overcome by this individual. And I just shut the book and I get, that's the solution to my problem. And I don't read that book. I don't read the book until I've finished solving that problem I just had a eureka moment about. So at the minute I find a gem, I drop everything and just go implementing. So I'm a very implementation-oriented guy.
So you sort of take it as a cue from the universe that this was the purpose. You've got it. Go and get it now.
Yes. Finally, the buck stops with me.
All right.
And that's a responsibility I take. But then if it answers your questions in terms of what a person does when that, how do you get the energy or, in that direction, I think you draw the energy from what God gives you. God gave me a habit, or I formed a habit of reading other people's stories, whether you call them biography books, autobiographies, or biographical movies, or meeting inspiring people and talking to them. You know
what I do, Mamta? I love astronomy. I go back to the stars. I love physics. So I read a lot on physics, and I have these books which are by Richard Feynman, which is 6 easy pieces and 6 not so easy pieces, not musical pieces, but these are physics pieces. And I love reading, I love science fiction as well. And I just love dabbling into the world of science and to an extent mathematics and the philosophy. And I like 20th century philosophers, and I like the old philosophers and a lot of old literature. And that teaches you a lot. And I love doing that.
Wow. So you as an artist, you draw a lot of inspiration from science and philosophy and astronomy. That's very interesting. Very, very interesting. So guys, what is that you're looking forward to in the rest of the 2022?
So I think the first thing is a fundraise. We are looking at fundraise. 2022 में होना है क्योंकि we have waited too long and COVID has lasted more than 2 years, and this is the time. The time is now. So great opportunity for investors,
Okay,
but great
okay.
opportunity for us to make our dreams come true. Because for any growth, you need funding, and that's one of the learnings in our journey.
Absolutely. And what about you, Lorraine? Does that stand true for you, or are there any certain other personal things that you're looking forward to also?
That's true for me. And this year we're looking at setting up the beginnings of a beautiful orchestra, and we're looking at that and a great choir. That's what we're looking at this year. My perspective, yes, as a musician, we're looking at that. We're getting people together to play music and to sing music together.
Absolutely. I think 2 years has been too much of separation, also, So I think great timing, great timing. What is that one go to song that works like magic for you, Lorraine, and then for you, Aubrey?
Yes, I would request you to allow me to tell you about two songs. One is Search Me, O God, and Know My Heart Today. It's a Christian hymn which always helps me to reflect back. If there's anything that's troubling me, let me get back to my own heart and ask God to search my heart. So that's a good song that I go to. And another song that my mother taught me, the first song she ever taught me, was All Kinds of Everything Remind Me of You. So when I think of my mom, when I think of my dad, when I think of my sisters, my brothers, my friends, my students and people who I love, and Aubrey, then I think of the song, All Kinds of Everything Remind Me of You. It's a beautiful song. I think I would have sent it to you at some time. I sing it when I really feel I want to send it to someone who I want to say that, listen, I think of you. Everything reminds me of you. So those are the two songs. Because I love people, I love
Yeah,
music.
Aubrey, did you see where how did that list end?
No, I've got good ears and a good memory, but it's true,
Yeah.
Mamta. I think she sings it to me, and especially on our wedding anniversary, it's a part of our it's been for forever. It's been every year. So it's a regular feature of our wedding anniversary celebrations. She sings it to me. We record.
And what about your go-to song? What that works exactly like magic?
I can say that.
So there are two things which one you don't know. So I'm just going to share that.
Okay.
The very first song that I sang in a school competition, the very first song that I sang was a gospel song that is titled "Because He Lives, I Can Face Tomorrow." And it's focused on the belief, and it's my belief too. It's the because He lives He is referred to as Jesus. Because He lives, I can face tomorrow. Because He lives, all fear is gone. And I think that's a faithful song that is my go-to song in prayer and confidence. Number one, and number two, around that time, a little after, because that was very early in my childhood that became my favorite song and go-to song. But later, there was a song by Glenn Campbell which became very popular. I heard that much later because my seniors were singing it, and that was the song called "Rhinestone Cowboy."
Oh yes, I love that song. You gotta sing it for us, or at least hum it for us.
Oh boy! Okay, I'll try. But the words are very powerful, and it's resonated with my life journey. So it goes like this: I've been walking these streets so long, singing the same old song. I know every crack in these dirty sidewalks of Broadway, where hustle's the name of the game. And nice guys get washed away like the snow and the rain. There's been a load of compromising on the road to my horizon. But I'm gonna be there where the lights are shining on me. it goes on to say, like a rhinestone cowboy riding on a horse at a star-spangled rodeo, getting cards and letters from people I don't even know, and offers coming over the phone. Well, I'm waiting.
That's beautiful. It takes me back to eons now, but it's really beautiful. All right. So now we move to a very, very rapid reflex round, or like a fireside chat is what I call it. You just have to answer these questions in not more than a word or two. And since we are the two of us, like you're the two of you, we'll really have to see who goes first. So maybe I'll ask the same question, one of you gives the answer, and the other one gives the answer. Are we ready for this? Take a deep breath, guys.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. One thing you would like to change about our education system?
Oh, you've got to have music as a compulsory subject.
All right, Lorraine.
Music, undoubtedly. Music every day for everyone.
All right. One thing you wished parents never said to children?
I'll go first.
Yeah.
You're not good enough, and you will not make it.
What about you, Aubrey?
You're a failure.
One thing you wish you knew at the age of 20?
I wish I had known at 20 that I'll be a chairman and managing director.
One thing you wish that never existed in the world?
War.
Lorraine?
Lack of love.
One thing you wish that could exist forever?
Peace.
Music.
All right. Now, who knows who? The next segment is he or she. I'm going to ask Lorraine questions about Aubrey and Aubrey questions about Lorraine. So, one of you will go first. I will call out the names. So, Aubrey, she starts her day with?
The piano. Music, actually. Either listening or playing it, and she reads the Bible. These are the two things. She's reading the Bible or a book. She's either playing the piano or listening to music.
All right. And he starts his day with?
Yes, he starts his day with eating fruits and drinking tea and meditating on his own.
Okay. Her daily diet includes? Aubrey?
Salads.
And his daily diet includes?
Fruits and nuts.
Okay. She ends her day with?
Music and reading again.
Okay. And he ends his day with?
Watching movies.
Okay. What's his biggest weakness, Lauren?
His very, very fiery temperament.
Okay. And what's her biggest weakness?
She's not as fast as she could be.
Okay, one thing that is an absolute must for him, Lauren.
Absolute must for him. Me.
One thing that is an absolute must for her.
I think the same. That's me.
Okay. And she should never.
She should never die.
Oh, and he should never.
He should never lose his temper.
Oh, wow, that was truly being unbound, guys. And we are really, really touched, inspired. And with this, we have almost come to the end of this show. It's been a complete pleasure for me to have you both, Lauren and Aubrey. As a parting note, I would just say that keep up at this beautiful artistic endeavor while you continue to musically empower the world. And I sincerely wish that it's always music that remains the soundtrack of your life. We certainly need more people like you to make this a better world. So thanks for sharing your journey with us.
Thank you for having us,
Thank you very
Mamtaa, and
much.
wish you the very best in all that you're doing. This is great. It's been a great conversation. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I would love to know from you what idea or insight you unboxed from today's conversation. Just drop me a message over LinkedIn or in my inbox, and remember to follow this podcast so that when the next episode drops, you can join me for yet another one too. Keep coming and keep unbounding. Till then, this is your host Mamtaa signing off.